What is going on, guys? It's Nick from Surfcast in the Island back at you with another video. I know it's been quite some time since I delivered content to my subscribers and other people casually watching my videos. The reason being is the fall has been pretty much in full swing for, I'd say, the past month or so. And it's been really good. But just because it's been really good doesn't mean that work has to be done in certain areas to try to find these fish, and that's kind of going to be what the topic of discussion today is, and that's going to be the truth that people don't want to hear. I'll dub the topic. Yes, if people do look at my social media the past couple weeks, over the span of, I'd say, end of September, beginning of October, up until, I'd say, now and, a half a week to a week ago, you would think every single night would be this banner night, flawless night or day. But, I haven't really been out much during the day with the exception of weekends, schedule dependent for me. But harping on what I've been saying, oh, well, if it's a banner day, we, catch every time we go out. And that simply just wasn't the case. There were plenty of nights where it was 1, 2 fish, no fish, multiple nights in a row without fish. And that's not really what social media as a whole portrays. We only want to portray, our highlight moments, the highlight reel. We're not gonna want to discuss failures and things we, should have done better, or we could have done, fished this area different, or fished that area over the area that we chose that night for that tide that coincided with what our other conditions we were looking at. But as I discuss further and further throughout this section of my discussion, you'll begin to understand, why I see things the way they are and how it's made me a better fisherman. So I'd say the biggest problem I have with the fall, in my opinion, as opposed to the spring, is that every fall is pretty much different, or a lot less consistent than that of our springs. In the spring, the stripers are a lot more predictable. They have to flood the backs to spawn, so they tend to frequent the areas that we tend to visit in the spring with a much higher probability, as opposed to the fall, where it's mostly an open beach and inlet bite, at least on the south shore of Long Island, where I spend majority of my time. So the one thing about the fall I've come to the conclusion is that more often than not, if you don't have the bait around, you're not going to have the fish. It's as simple as that. They're feeding up for the winter so that they have a successful spawn, preceding years through the future. And that's pretty much the basis of the fall. And the fish show up at varying times, and it's just one of those things that you got to be out there every night. And as I explained earlier on, pretty much I've had multiple nights with no fish, or 1 fish or 2 fish. And it just came with time this year to really find them. We really had a good run of resident fish around that second moon of September. It wasn't a lot of fish, but if you ran into them, they were pretty good fish. I have a couple friends that had fish in the 20-30 pound class. Actually, I didn't have anything that big, probably mid-teens or so. Fast forwarding to the new moon, was the first moon of October. The upswing was pretty good. It saw fish within that range. I had teens up until 20-25 pound fish. It wasn't a lot of fish, but it was quality fish, have you will, until we got pretty much to the peak of the moon. You started to get more nights of more fish, but they got smaller as that wave kind of moved on. Those smaller fish lagged behind, I would like to believe. But it wasn't until I'd say the full moon of October where I did most of my damage this fall so far. My best night, I'd say, I believe it was the 24th. I had myself between 6 and 8 fish, and they're all between, I'd say, 15 to 25 pounds, 30 pounds. And those are the nights we strive for. No, by no means was it a blitz. By no means it was crushing them, but it was, a half a dozen, between a half a dozen and a dozen quality fish. And where I'm at now, I honestly prefer less fish that are bigger at the stage I'm at right now, but everyone's different. But it just goes back to that mentality I was talking about before where, if you don't want to put in the time, that's on you. If you don't want to, all these other co-founding factors, you don't want to search for these fish, find new areas. But if Thursday night's the only night you could get out, God bless, get out and fish. But if you want to consistently get on these fish, you really got to devote a lot of time to it, as I've done. I've kind of eased up on the gas pedal right now. A lot of what's going on now is day bites during the day, broad daylight, high noon, whatever you want to call it. And that doesn't really coincide with my schedule. That's part of the reason why things kind of shied down for me. The night bite was great in October, but I could, from this point on, I think it's really, really going to be a day bite until these fish finally make their last push out. And also, the boat fishing, that could be real deceiving. You see guys crushing it on boats all over the place, but, the surf could be a total different story, as, there were plenty of days we were on the beach where those fish were 30, 40 yards out of reach, and guys on the boat were loading up on them, and there's really nothing you can really do if they're out of range. You can only walk so far and travel so far as to a boat that pretty much has a limitless amount of range. So in that case, the boat guy should be catching them. There's no excuse as to why they shouldn't. But it just goes to show you, in the surf, you really got to take into effect wind and tide and how it affects each area different. And if you're lacking that experience, or whatever the reason is, you'll see the struggle. You won't get the results you want, and I've learned that. But that's kind of what pushed me to put more time in, and the results really showed, the back half of the fall. But that's pretty much what I have to say here. I know I'm gonna leave this to a short video. That's just pretty much my update on how the fall's been going. It's been primarily a bunker bite. There have been sand deals around, but if you really wanted the bigger fish and want to be around them, it's those bigger body baits like the bunker, the weak fish, kingfish, whatever else is getting flooded down the South Shore. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, hit that subscribe button, share it with other people, and stay tuned on my Instagram at surfcasting_the_island. Thanks. Have a nice day.